All right, today we're diving into a powerful playbook. We're talking about how to win in those super competitive, fast-moving industries. It's not just about keeping up anymore. It's about figuring out how to consistently stay out front.
So think about this for a second. In fields like pharma or high-tech, innovation literally never stops. The second you think you've crossed the finish line, guess what? A new one just appeared way off in the distance. So how in the world do you win a race that's constantly redrawing its own map?
The answer sounds simple, right? Just stay one step ahead. But actually doing it? That's the real challenge. It's not about one final sprint to the finish. It's about playing the long game, consistently outmaneuvering your rivals day in and day out. And that takes a whole different kind of strategic thinking.
To really get the stakes here, imagine you're in a high-speed race, but you're doing it completely in the dark. You can hear your competitors buzzing around you, you know they're making big moves, but you can't see exactly what they're doing or where they're headed. That's pretty much the reality for a lot of cutting-edge industries.
And this isn't just some abstract idea. A real global pharmaceutical client was facing this exact problem. They were in the incredibly complex liquid biopsy market. They'd go to these huge scientific conferences and just get completely swamped, drowning in a sea of data with absolutely no clear way to turn it into a real strategy.
So how do you even begin to navigate that race in the dark? Well, you find a way to turn on the headlights. And that solution is something called competitive intelligence, or CI. It's the tool that basically illuminates the entire racetrack for you. At its heart, competitive intelligence is a really systematic discipline. It's all about the ethical process of gathering publicly available info, analyzing it with a laser focus, and then transforming all that raw data into insights you can actually use to make smarter, faster decisions.
And the difference it makes? It's literally night and day. Without CI, you're just buried in data, you're always reacting to what others do, and you're operating under this constant cloud of uncertainty. But with a solid CI strategy, that very same data becomes actionable. Your decisions become proactive, and you get the visibility you need to plan with real confidence.
Okay, so how does this actually work in practice? The firm in our case study, DelveInsight, they used a really smart three-phase game plan. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like a pro sports team studying game film before a huge championship. It's systematic, it's focused, and it's all designed for one thing: to win.
So the whole process breaks down into these three logical phases. First, you've got your pre-conference planning. This is all about getting ready. Then you've got live monitoring during the event itself. That's when you're capturing everything in real time. And finally, the post-conference analysis, which is where all that raw info gets forged into a winning strategy. Let's break each one down.
The work starts long before anyone even books a flight. This first phase is all about focus. Instead of trying to know everything, the team zeroes in on high-priority targets. They develop what they call key intelligence topics, and then formulate very specific key intelligence questions. So a question isn't just, hey, what's competitor X up to? It's more like, what specific data is competitor X presenting for their new drug, and how could that impact our position in the market? You know exactly what you're hunting for.
Then, during the conference, it's all about execution. You have analysts on the ground tracking everything as it happens, not just the big keynote speeches, but also the small competitor updates, new findings on posters in the exhibit hall, and even casual conversations with key experts in the field. Every single relevant piece of the puzzle gets captured.
Now, this is the most critical step. This is where all that raw data gets funneled together and synthesized. The team analyzes the real-world impact of everything they've learned, they spot emerging trends, and they translate it all into concrete, actionable recommendations for the client. This is where data truly becomes direction.
So what did this whole disciplined approach actually achieve for them? Well, the results are pretty powerful. They really show what happens when you stop just collecting data and you start using intelligence to actually drive your decisions.
The first huge outcome was a total shift in perspective. The client went from racing in the dark to having this complete panoramic view of their entire competitive landscape. The lights were officially on.
But what does visibility actually give you? Well, you can suddenly see new technologies popping up on the horizon. You have a clear map of new companies entering your space, and you gain this deep, nuanced understanding of what your direct competitors are working on. All the guesswork is just gone. And that leads directly to the second big win: strategic agility. Because when you can actually see what's coming down the road, you can move faster and more intelligently than anybody else.
This kind of agility is really the difference between reacting and leading.
It gives you the power to respond proactively to a competitor's move, to pivot your own strategy based on real market shifts, and to make those big, critical decisions with the confidence that comes from being backed by hard data.
And this brings us to the ultimate goal of this entire process. Because, let's be real, it's not just about knowing things, it's about translating that knowledge into decisive action. See, actionable insights are the bridge from information to impact. So the client got clear, specific recommendations on where to focus their R&D budget. They identified concrete opportunities for new partnerships. And they got the data-driven proof they needed to build smarter, more effective strategies to bring their products to market.
So what's the big lesson here? If we zoom out from this specific case, the principle is universal, no matter what field you're in. Proactive intelligence, it isn't just another tool in the toolbox. It's the very foundation of a modern winning strategy.
This quote on the screen really just sums it all up, doesn't it? In today's world, being proactive isn't optional anymore. Having that foresight built on real intelligence is truly what separates the leaders from everybody else. It's the difference between setting the pace and just struggling to keep up.
And that leaves all of us with one final and, I think, pretty crucial question. It is an absolute certainty that your competitors are out there right now doing everything they can to get an edge. So the only question that really matters is, are you?